Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Metro Board activities for February 23rd, 2023. Thank you for joining us today. Before we begin, we'll have our safety contact from Jamie Johnson, Metro Senior Vice President of Safety. Mr. Johnson. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Smegberg, members of the board. What should you do if someone becomes ill or injured, collapses or loses consciousness? It could happen here in this room, on a bus, on a platform, or anywhere in the metro system. It needs you or someone else to take control of the situation immediately, as seconds could be critical to that casualty. There are three steps to have in mind. Metro staff have additional training and actions to complete, but these first steps apply to customers and staff alike. Number one, communicate clearly and concisely with those around you. Say out loud what is happening and ask for help. It is helpful to identify specific individuals. For example, this woman is unconscious. Please, can you help me? Number two, get professional medical aid to the casualty. Call 911 or even better, delegate that task to an individual. Do you have a phone? Please, can you call 911 and tell them we have a woman here who is unconscious at 300 7th Street Southwest. Please send medical attention immediately. Number three, treat the situation as the worst case, and that could mean a cardiac emergency. If practical, delegate to someone else the task of getting an automated external defibrillator or AED. They're usually located in areas where people gather. For example, they're in station managers' kiosks across the system. The closest AED today is in the lobby. Ask someone to get it immediately. Having it in hand could be valuable and save seconds. In summary, if someone collapses or falls unconscious, have these first three steps in mind. Take control and communicate, call 911, and get an AED in hand. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson, and good morning again, everyone, and welcome to today's Metro Board activities. This is the meeting of the Board's Executive Committee. Since this is our first public meeting of the day, I'll ask Ms. Ellison, the Board Corporate Secretary, to call the roll.
Thank you. Chair Smedberg.
Present.
Vice Chair Babers.
Present.
Vice Chair Drummer.
Present.
Ms. Klein.
Present.
Mr. Letourneau.
Present.
Ms. Worth.
Present.
Mr. Goldman. Dr. Helfer.
Present.
Mr. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Next, we'll move on to the approval of the agenda. We have today's agenda before us. If there are no objections from committee members, we'll consider the agenda approved as presented. Does anyone have any comments on the agenda? Seeing none, the agenda is approved. Now to the approval of the minutes. We have minutes from our January 26th meeting and executive sessions of January 26th and February 9th before us. Does anyone have any comments or objections to the minutes as presented? Seeing or hearing none, thank you. The minutes are approved as presented. We have one item on our agenda this morning, acceptance of the public hearing staff report and adoption of Metro's strategic transformation plan, Your Metro, the Way Forward. As board members will recall, after extensive stakeholder engagement, staff came to us in early January for authorization to hold a public hearing and conduct associated public and community outreach on the draft strategic plan. Now, in record time, I might add, staff is back before us for the acceptance of the staff report on the public process and adoption of the plan. I'll turn the floor over to the GM to introduce the item, and then Ms. Feldbauer for the presentation of the outreach and the final strategic plan adoption.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you to all the board members for all of your just partnership, collaboration, and quite frankly, I use the word teamwork on this transformation plan. One of the first things I had the discussion with you all when I actually went through the interview process was, what are our priorities? And if everything's a priority, nothing is a priority. So how do we all agree what our priorities are? How do then we be very transparent about those and measure them? Talk very publicly about what we're doing well and what we're not doing well, openly admit it, and then move forward in a positive, continuous improvement culture. So I'm really proud of the work we've done. I want to thank Kimmy Feldbauer for her leadership in this, and I know she's going to present through this. All the team that was involved, our Boston Consulting Group, and a lot of other consultants that were involved, and the public at large. I think we had over 400 comments. We engaged local government partners, nonprofit partners. A couple people I've heard told me that was the first time that they've had Metro come to them specifically and ask about strategic planning. And I think where we are in 2023, that is that very collaborative approach that we're trying to drive. So To me, this is the framework of how we move forward. It's supposed to be an evolving document. Things, like COVID happened. If we had a strategic plan 5 months before COVID, clearly we would have had to tweak and move, right? But this now gives us the framework to do that. I also think what it's really great here is it's putting the marker down of what we want to be. We have big discussions as a region, as an organization coming up about our funding and our investment plan. And quite frankly, I think that this is the time, and the board has really said this a lot publicly, and I thank you, which is let's really think about what we want to be and not just necessarily Band-Aid the solution. This has been a problem since 1975, 1976. We have former CEOs in the room that probably had these same conversations, former board members had these same conversations. How do we move us forward and all agree as a region what Metro is going to be? And I'm really proud of this plan, and I think we're going to be able to use this and elevate that conversation. So with that, Chair, I'll pass it over to Ms. Feldbauer to start her presentation.
Excellent. Thank you, General Manager Clark, and good morning, committee, chair of the committee, and members of the committee. Very happy to be here to report out on the public hearing process that we did for the Strategic Transformation Plan, Your Metro, the Way Forward. The Your Metro, the Way Forward was developed by the board alongside senior executive team with input from staff, our customers, and regional stakeholders. The plan is our organization's North Star and will serve as a framework to guide both long-term strategy and day-to-day decision-making as Metro continues to regain ridership post-pandemic and respond to changing mobility patterns, ensuring the agency captures the needs of our community. The data that we collected over the past 7 months directly influenced the foundation for the plan, and as part of the public hearing process, we asked the region to provide input on our plan to make sure that we're capturing the values, aspirations, and needs of the community across the DMV. Community engagement was a critical element of the strategic planning process. Inputs from our board members, from customers, employees, and our regional partners were critical in the development of the final plan and will ultimately determine how we measure our progress against the plan over the coming months and years. We conducted over 60 interviews across staff, with our customers and our board members. Back in August, we had an initial customer survey where we had over 2,600 responses, and we're continuing with pulse check surveys to gauge ongoing satisfaction across our customer base and across all modes. We had almost 3,500 respondents across all levels of the organization in the staff survey, and both of these are serving as the baseline information as we measure progress against the plan in the coming years. We held multiple community engagement meetings with Metro leadership, and several staff town halls here at Metro, where we reached thousands of attendees in total for their input on the plan. We met with over 100 government partners, business leaders, advisory committees, and customer advocates, and held several collaborative workshops with the board of directors and our senior team to develop the framework for the plan. During the public hearing process, we had over 400 comments that were received during the public comment period, and we held a hybrid public hearing in Virginia 2 Thursdays ago on February 9th, where we had 23 attendees and heard from 10 people that gave testimony on the strategic plan. The comment period was open from January 21st, 2023 to February 14th, 2023, where we received 423 comments. Feedback was solicited on the core elements of the plan, our mission, vision, goals, objectives, and general efforts around the customer experience. I'm not going to go into every detail of every comment up here so that we're not here for hours, but wanted to provide a good sample of the nature of comments and testimony that we received during the public hearing process. Some themes emerged around accountability and initiatives. One comment read, "What keeps Metro from forgetting the plan in a few years?" And the plan lays out the framework for how we will activate initiatives and mobilize staff to deliver on the goals and objectives. We will continue to work with the board and senior management to establish the cadence and mechanisms for reporting out our progress against the plan, and many of these efforts of transparency and continuous improvement are already underway. Other themes that emerged from the comments and testimony were around safety and security, reliability, and regional coverage and equity. The Better Bus Network redesign effort is a great example of how current staff initiatives are already delivering to our goals and objectives that we laid out in the plan. We also heard during the public hearing process the importance for Metro's contributions to regional economic development, as well as the need for a holistic approach to funding and fair strategy for Metro's future. In conclusion, it was really great to hear from so many people around the region that are committed to Metro's success and who want to be part of the solutions that we need. As we conclude the public hearing process, it is staff's recommendation to the Executive Committee to adopt the Strategic Transformation Plan, Your Metro, the Way Forward, as Metro's strategic plan for the next 3.5 years. Thank you for your time and your active participation, as the General Manager mentioned, in the development of this plan. I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Does anyone have any questions or comments for Ms. Feldbauer? Deputy Mayor Babers.
Yes, I don't have any questions. I just want to comment, Kimmy, on all the hard work that you've done. This was a fabulous process, and I am so happy to see that we have our North Star, which is what Randy likes to call it, and I heard people say that before. I never knew what the heck. But it's a, you know, it's a lovely strategic plan. It's something that we can point to, and I have been telling people about it, and that, you know, we will have something that shows the way, and I just appreciate all your work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Ms. April.
Thanks for all of your work. It's been really great to see the presentation and all the participation from the public, and that's included in this report. I was just wondering if there's some place where people can go to see their comments, because I think that's like really great that it's included in the report and it's in the board materials, but will that also be posted on your website just so that they can see it?
Yes, thank you. Great comment. And I should have mentioned all of the comments are included in the appendix of the public input process summary report. So all questions are laid out and we organize them by themes. So you can read through the questions that were solicited on the feedback tool on our website, so you know what the questions or the responses are in response to.
Great, thank you.
Okay, seeing no other hands. Oh, I'm sorry, Brianna. Yep.
Thank you. I'm excited. I'm as excited as Lucinda is. Anyways, question, and I apologize if I missed it, about, you know, how often we will update it. What's the accountability to the plan? If you wouldn't mind highlighting that one more time. Thanks.
Sure. It's not, there is not a monolithic effort toward how we'll report out. Some of the measures and mechanisms that are identified in the plan will be reported out you know, monthly, some will be daily, some will be annually. So we're working through that right now, and we'll come back to the board once we've identified, you know, once the plan is adopted, we wanted to move forward in that appropriate process.
Thank you.
Okay, we're good. All right, now we'll move a call for a vote to move this to the full board today. Is there a motion from a committee member?
So moved.
So moved by Ms. Klein. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Helfer. Any further discussion? Oh, can she do that? Oh, right. Sorry, Brianna. We need a committee member. Sorry.
Second.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Babers. Okay. Motion on the table. Is there a second? Ms. Ellison, please conduct the vote.
Chair Smedberg?
Aye.
Vice Chair Babers?
Aye.
Vice Chair Drummer?
Aye.
Ms. Klein?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you. All right. With no further business to come before the committee, we will stand adjourned. We'll take a brief pause and then... Good morning, everyone. I'm Paul Smedberg, Chair of the WMATA Board. Thank you for being here today at our Board of Directors meeting. Since we just called the roll at our previous meeting, we'll move right to the next item, which is the approval of the agenda. If there are no objections, I'll consider the agenda approved as presented. Are there any objections? Hearing and seeing none, the agenda is approved. Next, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. We have 5 sets of minutes for approval. The board meetings from January 26th and February 9th, as well as executive sessions from January 6th, February 2nd, and February 9th. I'd like to consider these minutes approved as presented. Does anyone have any comments or concerns about any of those sets of minutes? Hearing and seeing none, the minutes are approved. Thank you. It is with great honor that we celebrate today the 50th anniversary of Metrobus. Metrobus was formed on February 4th, 1973, after acquisition of 4 regional bus providers, DC Transit, Washington, Virginia, and Maryland Coach Company, Alexandria, Barcroft, and Washington Transit Company, and Washington, Marlborough, and Annapolis Motor Lines. We developed over the past 50 years is something much more, an indelible lifeline that connects the people, places, and possibilities that make our region great. Metrobus has served as the backbone of the National Capital Region's transportation network, and we are proud to celebrate the 50th anniversary. Before we begin today's anniversary recognitions, I'd like to note we have some special guests with us here today. If you would please stand or wave when your name is called. We have current board member April Rye, who is the alternate for the federal government. April? Oh, it's on Teams. Okay. Thank you, April, for being here. Former board members, Clarence Crawford from Maryland. Clarence, great seeing you. Jeff Meridian and Matt Brown of the District of Columbia.
I don't think Matt's here yet.
Matt, Mr. Brown may not be here yet. Jeff, great that you're here. And Harriet Tregoning of the federal government. Harriet, good morning. Former General Manager Dick White. Dick, welcome. And former longtime Metrobus Assistant General Manager Jack Requa, who also has served as interim general manager numerous times during his Metro career. Jack, great seeing you. Thank you all for being here today, and thanks everyone for being here today. This is certainly your legacy too. In recognizing this milestone anniversary, we thought it would be fitting to recognize some of our employees who have been with Metrobus for 50 years or very close to it. Yes, you heard that right. People who have been here for 50 years or very close to it. I'd like to note that we'll do photos at the end once we've concluded recognizing each group. 2 current employees with us today have been Metrobus employees since 1973. First, we'll recognize operator Robert Miles. Mr. Miles, would you please stand? Robert, why don't you come out just a little bit? How about that? Yeah. There we go. Mr. Miles is with the Landover Division, was with DC Transit when it merged with 3 other bus companies. In 1973, he came to Metrobus. He still drives a Metrobus to this day and has won the Metrobus Rodeo 28 times. Yeah. And more amazing, his most recent accomplishment in that regard, his last win, was last year. Yep. Stay right there. Next, we'd like to recognize Depot Clerk James Woods. Mr. Woods. Oh, he couldn't make it today. Okay. Mr. Woods is with the 4 Mile Run Division and is, he's unable to join us today. I guess I should have read the script. But he joined Metrobus also in 1973 as a bus operator. He went on to serve as street supervisor, bus operations control center communications specialist, and line platform instructor before his current position. Additionally, we have several employees on the Metrobus maintenance team. Each have worked over 40 years of service who are here with us today. Mechanic John Graham of the Heavy Overhaul Shop, CTF, with 43 years of service. Superintendent Michael Clark of the Heavy Overhaul Shop, CTF, with 41 years of service. Been unable to join us today, but we'd also like to recognize Maintenance Superintendent Florinell Merritt of the Montgomery Division with 48 years of service. Additionally, we have a Metrobus retiree with us today, Mr. Sherman Ramey, a former General Superintendent of Metrobus who transitioned from DC Transit to Metrobus and served with us for 39 years before retiring. I don't want to overlook anyone. I know there are a lot of people here in the audience, so any special recognition of guests in the audience that we, Leroy, anyone you see or recognize out there? Great. All right. Thank you. So as we recognize the magnitude of 50 years of Metrobus, we lift up each of you and celebrate your contributions. You paved the way for so many to follow. So on behalf of the board, I would like to thank every Metrobus employee for your hard work and dedication that has helped each of us to be, or all of us, to successfully reach this milestone. So thank you. Yeah, and now we're going to have the board come out. We'll take, don't sit down. Don't sit down, we're going to do some pictures.
Join in. Yeah, absolutely. Dick, Jack, everybody, join in for the pictures.
You want to get the cake? I'll get the podium back, please.
Okay, so you and Dick can say. You know, why everyone is still here, are we on? While everyone is still here, I would like to have Mr. Wyatt and Mr. Requa maybe just say a few words. While everyone is here, if we could have everyone's attention. Shh. If we could have everyone's attention, I think we'll let Mr. White and Mr. Requa say a few words.
Well, thank you. It's great to see, first of all, thanking the board for having this celebration. I think it's great that it's been 50 years. It's been a hard time, and it's going well. And the employees that have dedicated their service, their years, and their lives to this business has been wonderful, and has made Metrobus all it is. But I do have to thank the board and the jurisdictions, the general managers of the past for funding and keeping facilities going, getting people hired, and trying to provide the best service for our patrons. So I think it's all gone well and will be better in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Requa.
Well, it's good to see a number of familiar faces here from my time at Metro and also later just in APTA industry circles. But I had the great honor of being the general manager here from 1996 to 2006. I'm wearing 2 pins here. It was actually the 30th anniversary of Metrobus in 2003. I was fortunate to be here for that. I also have a second one, which is the bus rodeo pin, 2003. And of course, Bob Miles won that one, as he's won them all. I brought Jack Requa here to Metro, so and I know he's done a tremendous job for this organization for these years. So, the heart and soul of the organization is the people of the organization. And the people that are here today with 45, 50 years of service, these are the ones that go in and day out. Don't always get appreciated. The bus system sometimes is looked a little bit as a stepchild to the rail system, but we all know better than that. It does yeoman's work, and it's just fantastic to be here today, and thank you for the opportunity to share this with you.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Thank you both for being here, and everyone, Clarence, all the former board members. Okay, now we'll move on for our public comment and reports by advisory boards. We had no online submissions for this meeting today, and no one who signed up. Well, Denise is here. Yes, Denise. Microphone is here.
Good morning. My name is Denise Rush, and I'm Vice Chair of the Metro Access Subcommittee and Vice Chair of the AAC Committee.
Denise, we're going to switch out your mic.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay. Today I'm talking for the public and asking the board to consider having a flat fare for Metro Access. In my hand, I have $100, and that will give me 25 rides if it's $4 flat fare. In this hand, I have 3 vials of insulin, and they cost me $105 to stay alive. And I have a bag of all my other medicines. A person, I often say you have to walk in their shoes. Now I'm walking in the retired disability community shoes on a fixed income, and it's impossible to stay alive. You have to choose. Do you pay what you need to pay, or do you take your insulin or your medicine? And please consider a flat fare so we can figure out which way we're going, and we want to be able to go in the disability community. An uncomplicated fare would make it easy. In my hand, I will know I have 25 rides at $4, 20 rides at $5, but $6.50, $5 up and down on the roller coaster is stressful, and I've never had to walk in those shoes. So I didn't understand the little old lady working at Walmart and the old people, you know, retired and sick, trying to work. They were trying to stay alive. And I'm walking in their shoes now, and they don't fit too good. So please consider a flat rate, something that is not complicated, and you can simply understand and know where you are when you get your check once a month on a fixed income. And thank you for your time. Please consider it. Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. Nice to see you this morning. Next, move on. We'll hear from our Accessibility Advisory Committee. Mr. Sheehan. Morning, Patrick.
Very good. Thank you very much. It's good to be here. I always hate following Denise when particularly with her comments, very powerful. At the AAC meeting this past month, we started off by recognizing Jim Hamry for the work that he had done with respect to bus planning for 20 years. He was given the Richard Hettinger Award, which is the highest award that we give for individuals who have helped the disability community. Jim really did an excellent job as far as bus planning. He came to the AAC committee over 20 years, giving us the information that we needed, not always the information that we wanted, but he was fair, he was well-informed, and he listened. He did a really excellent job. He also came to the RAC and would give the same kind of information to the Writers Advisory Committee. An excellent person. And he did so much to help with the bus planning, to extend the system beyond what it was when he started. And I think one of the things that he leads with respect to Metro, he didn't just walk out the door when he left. He mentored a group underneath him so that the group underneath him are doing all the work that he was doing himself. They're coming before the AAC, and I'm sure they're coming before the Writers Advisory Committee, giving the same kind of professional knowledge, recommendations, and advice, and taking it back so that we can have excellent bus planning. So I think that's a real tribute to Jim. The fact that he didn't just walk out the door, but he left WMATA with a legacy, and then he also left with good people underneath him. The other things that, as Denise just said, much more eloquently than I can, the other thing we talked about was the flat fare. What Denise gave you is the impact that it has on people, because you have to go in and someday your fare is $3.50, some days it's $4.50, some days it's $6.50. You don't know how to plan. And so you do have to make those kinds of decisions that Denise talked about, choosing between your medicine and your money. We do have the ability on the weekends and the evenings to have a flat fare. It makes sense. It is easy to understand. With the cost of Metro access being, I think, somewhere in the $90 range for the fares, anything that we can do to cut costs to a $4, let's say, flat fare is what we're asking. We spent a lot of time talking to our membership at AAC to explain to them how simplifying the fares is a good thing. We've gone from peak of the peak to getting rid of the peak. We even considered zones at one point, and all of those have been simplified down to a much easier system. We're asking that you take the same logic and apply that to Metro Access. Think of what Denise said to you today. I think it's very powerful. The other things that we talked about this month, we had a demonstration of the new minivans that we're putting in place for Metro Access. A group of us took a look at those, particularly folks in wheelchairs. We have 23 vans coming into play shortly, and we'll give you more feedback on that. There was also another demonstration of a e-papers kiosk type unit that's going to be put in the bus shelters, bus stops, to give more concise information on buses, where they'll be, where they're going to be coming in. You've got audio output on that, which I think is really good. And they've also adjusted those displays for sun glare. So I think that we'll give feedback on that. One thing that we always have appreciated is seeing the projects that you're working on up front before they get implemented station-wide or region-wide. And we find that that still is happening. Lastly, we did get a very good and excellent presentation by your performance metrics people. Then they came here, I think it was December or January, gave the same report. Folks within our Metro Access Subcommittee and BUS were so impressed with them that they've invited them to come back, because looking at the metrics that they have, along with the outcomes, is what we want to try to look at and focus on. We think that that's what you're interested in. It's certainly, particularly with the outcomes that you want to generate, we want to see how we can meet and help meet those outcome targets that you have. Lastly, one of the areas that we are looking at doing over the 2023-24 timeframe would be to bring the jurisdictions in and talk about the bus stops. Are they adequate? Are they safe? What can we do to improve them? Is there targeted money coming in from the Department of Transportation, from WMATA, other sources, so that we can improve bus stops, particularly in the Prince George's or Fairfax area? We know that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. We will be reporting back to you what we see with respect to that. We want to tie our research into what is being presented with respect to performance indicators. So we find that data very valuable. We also plan to take that information on bus stops and share that back with RAC, because the nature of the bus stops, the accessibility of bus stops, floating bus stops, all of those issues, they're not just a disability issue, they're a Metro issue. But we want to make sure the bus stops are safe, usable, accessible, and giving everyone the information that they need. So we've got a lot going on, but this was an excellent celebration. I was pleased to be here for the bus celebration, and we look forward to the hearings coming up. I think you'll hear from the disability community in lots of ways, and I look forward to it. Are there any questions for me?
Thank you, Patrick. Any questions for Mr. Sheehan? Ms. Helfand?
Thanks. First, Pat, thank you for your leadership. This is Brianna Helfer.
Yes.
Just thank you for all the work you and Denise and others are doing on the Accessibility Committee. Your last point about accessible path of travel is one that I think is so important. All the points you made are important, but you know, I reflect at 50 years ago, we didn't have curb cuts. 50 years ago, we didn't have lifts on buses. 50 years ago, we didn't have stop announcements, and the list goes on. But yet today, we still have work to do, especially on path of travel. So thank you for continuing your advocacy and your work, so on all those points.
Great. Well, it's an honor to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you.
Great seeing
Okay.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we'll call on Mr. Meyer, the Writers Advisory Council Chair, to provide his report. Mr. Meyer, you're joining us via Teams. There you are. Good morning.
I am. You all can hear me?
Yep.
Thank you so much, Chairman Smedberg and members of the board. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to present the Writers Advisory Council report for February 2023. First of all, I'd just like to, on behalf of the RAC, welcome April and Spring to the WMATA family, and welcome back Paul Wiedefeld to WMATA and for their service as principal and alternate directors on the board. We're really looking forward to working with you all in helping serve our customers and the riders and advocating for them. So we're looking forward to working with you all, and congratulations on your respective appointments. The first thing that we talked about in our RAC meeting was pertaining to the summer 2023 track work outages that are going to be occurring. We're very grateful that Andy Off, Metro's chief infrastructure officer, came and spoke to us about those rail service changes and outages as part of our capital program and the associated work updates that are going to be occurring as a result of that. We certainly appreciate that Metro is ensuring that the rail system remains in a state of good repair, both as a matter of safety, but also just as a matter of kind of getting ahead of the maintenance curve to ensure that despite a lot of disruptions happening now, it will hopefully lead to fewer disruptions in the future because we're catching up on our maintenance and making those necessary investments that we need to be making on those particular lines and those stations that we're going to be shutting down or single tracking over the summer. I think in order to ensure that we provide the excellent customer experience despite this disruptive work is doing something I know you all already know about, but just making sure that we're providing very consistent, intuitive, alternative transportation options, whether that be expanding current service that exists. And certainly I know that there would be a substantial plan to provide kind of station by station shuttles or express shuttles in along transportation paths that are as quick as possible. So making sure that those are communicated in a timely manner and that they make sense for the customers that are going to be disrupted by these outages are critical. So we're looking forward to hearing about that and ensuring that you all are being responsive to those particular needs. Our next topic of discussion was about the Better Bus Network redesign. We received a presentation about kind of the phase one findings, particularly about customer outreach and the efforts that have been done so far in order to get feedback from customers. And we got a pretty good explanation about what it is that customers want and envision out of their Metrobus system and some of the changes that they want to see. And so I think it's going to be a very solid foundation, not only for staff to, build upon this when making any changes to our Metrobus system, but it certainly will help us make more informed decisions about what it is we should be recommending for you all to do. And of course, it's great that we're able to celebrate the 50th anniversary of Metrobus. And congratulations for all of those who've been part of helping Metrobus become the vibrant system that it is over the past 50 years. Our last discussion item was about the FY24 budget. So we've provided some preliminary comments to the board over the past several months, and we'll continue to do so all the way up to the adoption of the FY24 budget. But we were pleased that hearing dates, times, and locations for the various jurisdictions were within the WMATA zone were released, and Riders Advisory Council members anticipate attending those meetings on, I believe it's March 6th, 7th, and 8th. And not only just as observers of the process, but to hopefully incorporate both formal and informal discussions and comments from members of the public into our final budget recommendations later on in the spring, April, I believe. And lastly, I would just like to say that on behalf of the council and its members, I'd just like to offer our sincere condolences on the Metro family on the passing of Power Department mechanic Robert Cunningham. It's very difficult for all of us to hear that it just strikes so close to home. And any death in the workplace is shocking and a very sobering moment. But given the tragic and senseless nature of it, really puts things into perspective. And, you know, we would just like to reiterate certainly our appreciation for the Metro employees who work day in and day out to provide the excellent service across our system to the public and the potential risk that they're taking as a result of that. As riders and members of the community, it's incredibly sad what happened on February 1st, and we hope that we never have to experience that again. But we're thankful, certainly, that we're going to be taking steps forward to improve safety across the system, which is one of the reasons why at our last RAC meeting, we asked members of staff that interface with the public safety of the system to come to our March meeting to update us on some of the new initiatives and projects that are happening. So we have a better understanding in terms of what is being done on the system in that regard, so we can provide kind of the most cohesive and up-to-date feedback to you all for doing that. And lastly, I'd just like to thank our Riders Advisory Council Vice Chair, Cole Stout, who actually conducted the RAC meeting last month, or it was this month, but it was our last meeting that I was unable to attend. Greatly appreciative that he stepped up and was able to do that. As always, thank you. And if you have any questions or comments, I'd be happy to listen or answer them.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for being here this morning. Any questions for Mr. Mayor? Comments? Ms. Helfel?
I just want to publicly thank Brian and all of the RAC members. I mean, we have an amazing council. I believe we're going to have a couple of open seats coming up. So people that are interested, please, it's a really great group and thoughtful and doing some great work. So thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Bryna. I'm so sad I'm not there to be able to see you, but.
All right. Thank you, Brian.
Thanks.
We have one item of board business to address this morning. Mr. Drummer is requesting board approval for a declaration he would like to make. Mr. Drummer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. By background, I've been selected to serve as a member of the Climate Resident Advisory Group in Prince George's County. This advisory group's mission is to serve as a community voice in advising the Prince George's County Climate Action Implementation Task Force. And I want to emphasize 2 points. One, this advisory group does not make policy decisions, and my involvement in this advisory group is as an interested citizen, not as a WMATA board member. In closing, I affirm that I can participate in this matter fairly and objectively in the interest of WMATA, notwithstanding this conflict of interest. I also affirm that I have consulted with the board ethics officer, and he recommends that I seek board approval to make this declaration in lieu of recusal. Mr. Chair, this concludes my declaration request.
Thank you, Mr. Drummer. I'll move approval of Mr. Drummer's declaration. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Babers. Any discussion? Hearing none, Ms. Ellison, please conduct the vote.
Chair Smedberg?
Aye.
Vice Chair Babers?
Aye.
Vice Chair Drummer?
Aye.
Ms. Klein?
Aye.
Mr. Letourneau?
Aye.
Ms. Worth?
Aye.
Mr. Goldman? Dr. Helfer?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you, Ms. Ellison. In addition to celebrating Metrobus's 50th anniversary today, I'd also like to recognize February is Black History Month. It's an opportunity to spotlight and celebrate the achievements and contributions that African Americans have accomplished in this country, despite the history of racism and oppression. We honor the Black heroes and pioneers who have shaped our world. One of those heroes is Rosa Parks. As a fitting tribute, we celebrate and honor the legacy of her birthday on February 4th, also known as Transit Equity Day, and the same day Metrobus was founded in 1973. Rosa Parks became a key figure in the civil rights era when she refused to give up her seat on a segregated Montgomery, Alabama public transit bus and was arrested in 1955. The actions of Ms. Parks are intrinsically linked to the concept of transit equity for all. Metro is committed to providing equitable transportation because the communities we serve are stronger when everyone has access to reliable and affordable transportation. Public transportation connects people to jobs, healthcare, schools, grocery stores, housing, and more. And we're always striving to eliminate barriers to transit. This concludes my report. Now I'll turn the floor over to our General Manager, Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate it. Well, I think it's fair to say, you can all see from our earlier presentation and dignitaries that we had here today, we have a lot to be proud of as an organization. I want to reiterate what the chair said and thank our former general managers, board members, and our long-term Metrobus employees for being with us today. Your contributions are appreciated, and what we're doing all here is building for the next generation. So it was great to have so many people back. Metrobus, as we all know, is the backbone of our operations, and we see how Metrobus really supports our customers in all of the conversation you just mentioned, Chair, reflecting about equity, sustainability, economic opportunity, and fairness. And I appreciate especially what former General Manager Dick White said, and I've said very consistently since I've been here. Metrobus is equal to Metro Rail, and therefore all of our customers and all of our staff are equal as well. And we are going to continue to work on that lens to make sure that no one would feel in any other way that rail is more important than bus. All this is important and it all has to work together. Speaking of bus, as you'll see, we're going to keep doing the 50th celebration throughout this month. It's great that we had a cake here, but we're out with the staff and we're doing cupcakes with all the staff. I was out at the Landover Division. You'll see that's a picture. I appreciate, we're doing this all in collaboration with our labor partners as well. Right, they have an important role to play in all of this. We have 12 divisions that we're getting out to, and one of them was actually at the Rosa Parks School last Friday, and Leroy was able to go representing Metro as our Senior Vice President running bus, and it was just great in the school with a lot of little kids seeing the importance of what bus does with the Rosa Parks historic bus. It was just a great moment to really brings what we've been going through as an agency all together. What we do is serve the community. As you'll see in the next slide, bus is changing though, and we are transforming, whether it's the bus network redesign or zero emission. So I thought these pictures might be pretty interesting. This is one of our first 60-foot electric buses. As you'll see with that weather, that is not in the DMV. I don't think we've had an ounce of snow yet this year, and to be as a transit GM, knock on wood, we do not. But that bus is in Minnesota, and I believe shipping in the not too distant future. We're going through the commissioning process right now. Additionally, you'll see other pictures of our infrastructure at our Shepherd Division, and that's the overhead catenary and pantograph system to charge the bus and all of the associated electrical equipment. So this is an exciting process to move us forward in a zero emission. I know there's a lot of conversation around this topic in the region, and we are doing everything we can to really move us forward. And it's not just about electrification. I really want to emphasize zero emission. How do we most sustainably and efficiently run the system? On service improvements, earlier this week, we implemented our next round of service improvements, and it was on the red line. So since July, we've run, I think our slides are out of order on me here, but if we can go to the, oh, we lost the slide. That's okay. I'm used to talking, so we'll do it that way. We'll go old school, 4 slides. So as many of you know, we've been continuing to increase our safe rail system service. We've increased rail by 41% since we all got together in July. We'll continue to see our highest ridership days on Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. A little fun, last week on Valentine's Day, our customers confirmed that they definitely love our virtual mobile Smart Trip app, and we hit a record of almost 67,000 virtual taps. So again, continuing that transition to more of a digital organization, and I appreciate our customers using that technology. When we talk about ridership, we are continuing to see growth, and more importantly, we're working internally to be prepared for cherry blossom season. As we all know, actually with the weather we have today, cherry blossom season might be this weekend. But we are really working hard to make sure we are ready to deliver the service the region needs to support not only cherry blossoms. We're basically a month away from Nats starting again, and hopefully the Caps in the playoffs and whatnot. We expect a pretty busy spring around the region, and we want to be prepared for that. Last week was our first 3 consecutive day trend for the highest days we've had since the pandemic, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So we are moving things forward, and we expect that to continue to increase. On the next slide here, you'll see it really is about customers, right? We've talked about that to be very customer-centric organization. And one of the things we overwhelmingly hear from customers, and I'm out there on the system as a customer every day, and some of you have expressed these same conversations, is tell us information. And sometimes there will be issues on the system, and it could be traffic detour, it could be a motorcade, it could be a variety of issues. Give people information and let them make decisions once they have information. And so I'm excited to announce that at Braddock Road, this is the location to test our new, what we call e-paper signs. And there's 10 total signs, and the idea is up-to-date information, full accessibility with our maps and information. So this is the start of what we want to do here at Metro and work with our partners in the region, all in on giving the best possible real-time accurate information so people can make decisions with their lives. The next thing I wanted to talk about a little bit is our 8Ks, our 8,000 series trains. We haven't talked about this much recently because we spend most of the conversation on rail talk about 7Ks. But 8Ks are really important. One, they are going to be built here in the region in Maryland, and that is an exciting thing. Two, the 8Ks allow us to finally park some of our legacy fleet, therefore upgrading our fleet to have safer vehicles, more accessible vehicles, the idea to have better customer service and higher reliability. So while we're working through the 8,000 series train, we obviously have some structural decisions to make in that design. And one of the design topics we are looking at significantly internally, and we want to now get some community feedback on, is the idea of moving towards an open gangway, what would be called an open gangway train system. Few places have this. The picture here is London, Toronto, Paris. I think in the next slide we'll show some domestic examples. New York is testing 2 different varieties right now, and Atlanta's Fleet of the Future is the same way. There is significant advantages to an open gangway design. That's why it's kind of a world-class model, specifically around safety and accessibility and providing a little bit more space inside of the vehicle. It also allows us to think through, since the 8K procurement happened, this board adopted an entire different framework around bicycles on the system. We are continuing to increase bicycle use as a region and connect our region. And bikes connected with people and crowding does actually cause other complications. We also connect to 2 airports now and Union Station, which is an incredible rail hub. So we want to think about luggage and also strollers and other types of carts, just the way people live their life. So we really want to get into really hearing what the customers think. We have a lot of technical work going on in open gangway. Next week, the next meeting of the RAC and the AAC, we want to have very detailed discussions with them. And we're going to have some other opportunities in person, including some Meet the Team events coming up in March with me and the senior staff. I'd love if any board members would love to come and join as well. We're going to do some social media and some digital survey stuff as well. We want to get as much feedback from the public as possible on what they think about this. There are cascading implications, obviously, on design. We got to make how the shops work and then how the fleet, the 7Ks and the 8Ks work together. But right now, we want to, as an agency, one of the things the senior team and I have been talking a lot about is how do we get our agency to be as close as we can to international and domestic best of breed, best standards, and operate that way and not be as anomalous and really be just what is the best in the industry. And sometimes if someone's doing something better, it's okay to cut and paste and learn from them and move forward. So again, look forward to any input the board members may have and the community at large, but kind of an exciting way to really think through what we're going to start classifying as the fleet of the future, because that's what the AKs really are for Metro long-term. With that, Mr. Chair, concludes my report. And I can, if I can, I just want to say one more thing to the staff. It has been a very difficult month. We've been a lot of town halls, a lot of engagement, and I just want to thank all of our staff again for not only their hard work, but quite frankly, their resilience and care for each other. In some ways, tragedy brings people closer together, and I think the last few weeks and month has brought our organization even closer together, and I just want to personally thank you all, and your just commitment to each other, it's very meaningful, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Any questions for the general manager? Okay. Seeing and hearing none. Now we'll move on to a report by the Finance and Capital Committee. Mr. Letourneau.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The following item was referred to the board at the February 9th Finance and Capital meeting. A, Series 2023A Dedicated Revenue Supplemental Bond. Staff sought approval of the supplemental bond resolution, bond purchase agreement, official statement, and continuing disclosure agreement to issue Series 2023A Dedicated Revenue Bonds in an amount of $392 million in principal for term not to exceed 28 years, final maturity to support the capital program. Mr. Chairman, I move approval of this item.
Thank you, Mr. Letourneau. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Babers. Any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Ellison, please administer the vote.
Chair Smedberg?
Aye.
Vice Chair Babers?
Aye.
Vice Chair Drummer?
Aye.
Ms. Klein? Mr. Letourneau?
Aye.
Ms. Worth?
Aye.
Mr. Goldman? Dr. Helfer?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you. Any further reports, Mr. Letourneau?
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to the Executive Committee report. We have one item that was referred to the board from this morning's Executive Committee meeting, Strategic Transformation Plan, Public Hearing Staff Report, and Adoption. Staff sought approval of the Public Participation Report and adoption of Your Metro, the Way Forward as Metro's Strategic Plan. I would like to move approval of that. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Babers. Is there any discussion or comments on the plan? Seeing and hearing none, I'll ask the Board Corporate Secretary to administer the vote.
Chair Smedberg? Vice Chair Babers?
Aye.
Vice Chair Drummer?
Aye.
Ms. Klein?
Aye.
Mr. Letourneau?
Aye.
Ms. Worth?
Aye.
Mr. Goldman?
Aye.
Dr. Helfer?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, the motion passes.
Thank you. Now we'll move on to the reports by the jurisdictions and VTC. I don't have anything, Ms. Letourneau. Do you? No? Okay. District of Columbia, Deputy Mayor Babers.
I don't have anything. Director Worth, do you have anything?
Okay. WSTC, Mr. Drummer.
I don't have anything.
Nothing to it. And the federal government, Ms. Klein.
Nothing for me, Dr. Helfer.
Okay. With no further business to come before the board, we'll